tomato is the #1 vegetable gardeners like to grow. Now here's something interesting. Even people who don't like tomatoes like to grow them. And we're being joined with Ed Thralls here, our Extension residential horticulturist, who's going to talk about growing tomatoes even if we don't like them, right?
Right.
Do you find that people, even if they don't like them, want to grow a tomato?
Not only do they grow the tomatoes, but they grow tomatoes they've never heard of. Something comes up new and they'll go out looking for them just so they can grow them, not necessarily eat them.
It's bragging rights. You know, I've got my hands all
The first
here.
tomato of the season is what I look for my bragging rights.
We did that too when I was up north there. Okay, so varieties. Are the varieties important?
Varieties are listed in the Florida Vegetable Gardening Guide, and in Central Florida we do have a unique environment, so we should at least start with those varieties and branch out from them. And there's about 20 different varieties labeled there for us to use.
Yeah, and one of the growers' catalogs that we have in Florida here, seed catalogs, they have over 400 varieties.
Yeah, when I'm looking for just growing in Florida, I'll go to Tomato Grower Supply to find that catalog and get those tomato seeds.
Over 400 varieties, that's a lot. I think there's over 1,000 in the nation. Everybody has their name on one of them these days, it seems like. So once we pick a variety, start, like you say, with the ones that are in the guide, and then you can go ahead and say, well, I want to try this or try that. Yeah.
For instance, Better Boy is one of them that's in the guide.
Better
so
Boy's
I've got Better
one.
Boy here. These are pelletized seeds, and I want a good potting mix. I know some other people make their own mixes. There's a lot of kitchen scientists out there that get crazy with their mixes.
I buy it.
And I store my seeds away, but I get a good potting mix.
Let me just put this up here so we can see what we're doing. Now you're going to sow some over on this side here, right?
I'm going to sow it right here in the middle here.
Okay.
And I use a little sharp point, could be a pencil or a pen or whatever. And I try to make a hole about 1/4 of an inch deep in the center, put one seed in there, and then somebody told me about going over in the corner of my transplant pot and put one more
extra,
just in case.
Just in case, you never know.
Then I cover them up lightly, no more than 1/4 of an inch, and mist them, and make sure I keep that soil moist until they germinate. And these are about 2.5 weeks old.
Wow, it doesn't take them long, does it?
Doesn't take long at all.
Yeah. So when do we want to do this? Certain times of the year?
Yes, in January if we're going to plant them out in March, or in the fall we want to start them in July and we'll plant them in late August.
Okay, so we've got our transplants now. So what do we do for these plants? I mean, water, fertilizer?
I've added water to them. I add fertilizer. In this case, I might use a tomato-specific fertilizer. That's a liquid fertilizer at half strength, but I won't start adding the fertilizer to it till I see the first true leaves.
Okay. Now here's the question a lot of gardeners have, is that when do you transplant these? How do you know when they're ready to go?
Well, they should be about 4 to 6 weeks old. These are just a couple of weeks old. As you can see, they're getting a little leggy. It is faster. And sometimes I will transplant these up into a larger pot. In about 6 weeks, I'll have a nice, sturdy, firm transplant ready to go out in the garden.
Okay. I'm going to put mine out. I'll be honest with you. As soon as I hit this stage in these containers, I'm going to pop it out and going to put it in the ground.
There's no problem with doing that. Sometimes you'll get really lucky and you'll be the first one in the block with tomatoes by doing that.
I'm hoping. Okay, we got some soil here. We're going to kind of mix this together a little bit before we plant.
Yes, I have a good potting mix. It's sterile, it's clean, and I have compost. And I'm going to mix the two together. Compost is about 1/3 of the amount by volume. I find that gives me a good growing media to plant my tomatoes in.
Hey, you brought a weed too.
I did bring weed. Yeah,
got to have a weed.
Right.
Token weed, no matter what.
This is my sample garden. I'll make a nice hole for it. I won't put any fertilizer in it right now. Not necessary.
Yeah.
And then I'll take my transplant out of the pot. I'll try not to damage the root system. If they're all messed up, I'll separate them. But I'll plant it sometimes just as deep as this growing in a container like this sturdy one. But if I have this leggy one, and I'll pull it out real quick, I want to make a trench in the soil.
Okay.
And because it's so long, I'll pull the lower leaves off. I'll lay it in that trench, cover it up all the way up to the upper leaves, and water them both well, keep them moist, and within a couple of weeks, I should see new growth and everything's going well.
A little bit of fertilizer. Thank you, Ed. Appreciate it very much. Now you know, you can start them from seeds, and it's easy to grow a tomato. See how you can do it too. It's kind of fun.